शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननं हर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्त प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोम्हणं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम्
Shivaya,
अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं
Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah
वातात्मजीं
Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah
अनिशं
Shivaya.
हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरधाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्णात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പീടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining despite the travels. We'll keep it a short class today. We won't do a review this week either. So we'll go start with 18. So maybe first off, Lalita Murali, you can be a student, and let me see, and Lakshmi Kammalaji can be a student.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So Dashakam 18 is Prithu Charita Varnanam. So there's a Charitram of Prithu. So that's also another incarnation. Like we said, there are so many incarnations. So like we saw the incarnation as Kapila in 14 and 15. So this 18 is also an incarnation of the Lord, right, of as Prithu. So stanza 1. जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नाम यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत्. So this is a continuation of the lineage of Dhruva. So we saw Swayambhuva Manu, who came from Brahma. Swayambhuva Manu had Uttanapada. Uttanapada had Dhruva. Uttanapada and Suniti had Dhruva as a son. So in the lineage, somewhere in the lineage of Dhruva, in the ancestry, was a king called Anga. So this Anga, he was very devoted because he's in the lineage of Dhruva, so he kind of naturally had it in his genes. And he was actually performing this Ashwamedha Yajna and lot of yajnas. So in those days, when they used to perform the yajnas, when the priest used to have, when you had the right priest who had all the right materials, it was conducted in the right way with the right chanting, the demigods used to actually appear in front and actually take the ahutis, right? So they used to then give blessings directly. So, but this Anka, when he's actually doing this along with all the priests, nothing was happening, right? No effect was actually happening. So these priests who were there, who could actually look into Anga's past, so they say, Anga, you have this birth of yours, you have done great work, but in the past you've actually not done some good work, right? Because of which you don't have a son. And because you don't have a son this time for performing this yajna, you are not getting the right blessings. So they say, let's divert this yajna and do a yajna so that you'll get a son. So they kind of do a different yajna, and from that, he's blessed. A person comes out of it, and who then blesses him with a son. Now, what happens is this son's name is Vena. So this son, although Anga is so devoted, this son ends up being the extreme opposite of Anga. So Anga is the ruler, big ruler, and this Vena is like an atrocious kid. So right from the childhood, everything, he starts behaving really bad. So to the extent that Anga is thinking that it's better for somebody to not have a son than have a son who's so bad. So he's really upset. He doesn't know what to do. Years pass. Later on, he comes to the realization it is actually good to have a really bad son. He says, if you have a really good son, I'm getting so attached to my family, I'm not able to leave and take up sannyasam and go to the forest. By having a really bad son, I'm just waiting to get away, right? So with that, what he does is he says, I'm completely done with this. He renounces his kingdom, says, you guys do whatever you want. I'm just going off for sannyasam. And then he leaves and goes to the forest, Anga. So he essentially decides to say, I'm going to just focus on my meditation and all that stuff. And he leaves. So, Jatasya Dhruva Kula Eva Tunga Kirtehe. We'll put a Visarga and comma at the end of the line. Kirtehe. The next word, Rangasya, becomes Angasya. The ra becomes A. Angasya Vyajani Sutaha. Put is Sutas. Sa Venanama. Yad Dosha Vyatita Matihi. Put is to join. Matis. Sa Rajavaryaha. Visargan comma, end of that line. Next line, if you have a is, that will go away. Twatpade nihita mana vanam gato bhut. Jatasya dhruvakula eva tunga kirtehe angasya vyajani sutasya vena nama yaddosha vyatita matissa rajavaryaha twatpade nihita mana vanam gato bhut.
जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नाम यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत् जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नाम यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत्.
नमस्कारः. जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नाम यद्दोषव्यतितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमनावनं गतोऽभूत् जातस्य ध्रुवकुल एव तुङ्गकीर्तेः अङ्गस्य व्यजनिसुतः सवेन नामा यद्दोषव्यदितमतिः स राजवर्यः त्वत्पादे निहितमना वनं गतोऽभूत्.
That's it. पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्. So now this Anga has left for the forest. So there's no king. So all the other sages, everybody who is there, because Anga was a very famous person, was ruling over pretty much the entire earth. We'll see why that is relevant later. So they were thinking of the welfare of the people, because in the absence of a king, what happens is there's nobody to take care of the interests of the people. So which means that everything would actually become very non-regulated, right? There'll be nothing to control anything. So they speak to their mother, the wife or the queen, and say that although your son Vena is extremely bad and he's not quite ready to be a king, we still want to make him the king, because there has to be some ruler, right? So they make Vena the king. So this Vena, of course, his autocracy starts then. And he starts putting all kinds of rules, saying that they should be like very similar to Hiranyakashipu that we're going to see later, right? That everybody has to worship me. There should be no more yajnas happening, and then it was just a lot of trouble happening all over the kingdom. So this guy takes over right now. Papopi kshiti tala palanaya venaha, comma. Pauradhyair upanihita. You can break it if you want. It's easier. Pauradhyair upanihitaha is there. Put a ih to join. Upanihitah. Kathora viryaha. Sarvebhyo nija balameva samprashamsanne, comma. Bhuchakre tava yajananyayam. That's one word. Yajananyayam nyarautsit. पापोपेक्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराध्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्.
पापोऽपि क्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौसीत्. पापोऽपि क्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौसीत्.
पापोऽपि क्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्वैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्. पापोऽपि क्षितितलपालनाय वेनः पौराद्यैरुपनिहितः कठोरवीर्यः सर्वेभ्यो निजबलमेव सम्प्रशंसन् भूचक्रे तव यजनान्ययं न्यरौत्सीत्.
सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलबदशामनायिवेनः. So because his atrocities have gone up such an extent, that on one end he was as a king, he was doing all kinds of things. On the other end, it gave a validation for all the other people to also come and start doing bad things. So it was kind of happening on both ends. The king was also being bad, plus lot of other bad people were also beginning to flourish, right? So when all these sages go talk to Vena, he then continues to make it even worse. So he says that, if you guys do not worship me, if you do not respect me, and if you do not obey me, then I'm going to get rid of all of you. So all those conversations are going. So the sages meet. So all the great sages, Bhrigu, all these people meet, and they say, what? We got to put an end to this Vena. So they say, just by their curse, that's what it says, just by their words, he's actually getting burnt. He says, just like how a moth kind of gets into a fire and gets burnt, similarly with the curses of the sages, Vena actually just passes away. He gets burnt. Samprapte hita kathanaya tapa saughe, comma. mattonyo bhuvana patir na kaschaneti tvanninda vachana paro munishwaraistaihi, it's one word, munishwaraistaihi, comma, shapagnau shalabha dashamanai venaha संप्राप्ते हितहतनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभदशामनायिवेनः
सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौगे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभतशामनायिवेनः
last word शामनायिवेनः
शामनायिवेनः सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभतशामनायिवेनः
सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभदशामनायिवेनः सम्प्राप्ते हितकथनाय तापसौघे मत्तोऽन्यो भुवनपतिर्न कश्चनेति त्वन्निन्दावचनपरो मुनीश्वरैस्तैः शापाग्नौ शलभदशामनायिवेनः
तन्नाशात् खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमतिता तथोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः. So it kind of goes in a cycle, right? So you have a king, then they did not have a king, so atrocities. So they then got Vena installed as a king, more atrocities. Then they now got rid of Vena, again, back to the same problem of having no king, right? So this thing keeps happening. So they're all like wondering, what do we do right now? However, what happens is, and this is some very interesting thing, and don't ask me scientifically how, but, very similar to the Egyptian mummification, right? This Vena's mother, Sunita, she also ends up preserving the body of Vena, right? Because she doesn't want to get rid of her son's body, so she preserves that body. So even though the sages had cursed and had gotten burnt, he is dead, his body is still there. So now what the sages do, it says, is they say they are able to extract something out of his body, which then creates two beings. Okay, I don't know how they do it. It just says from his thighs they churn out two different beings who come out, right? And this could be either a physical act, it could be a mystical act. We don't know how it is, but essentially what is actually happening is from his body, because he has a physical body still present there, right? And what they're doing is it says first they eliminate all the sins. So they do certain things because of which the sins get eliminated, and then the two beings come out of it. One of them, and we'll see who the two are. This stanza ends with you Tvam avirasihi. You, O Lord, incarnate as one of the person who is coming out of Vena's body, which the sages are able to extract out. Tannashat khalajana bhirukair munindraihi. Put a visarga and comma, munindraihi. Next line is goes away. Tanmatra chira pari rakshite tadange. Tyaktaghe, the next word is a pretty long word. Parimati tad athoru. The only way if you want to break it is there's a da which is coming. Parimati tad. So that you can break it into it and a. So parimati tad athoru dandat. And put a it at the end of that line. Or you can say it together as well. Parimati tad athoru dandat. Either way, it comes at the very end, comma. Next line, if you look at it in Sanskrit, will be two das. One of them will go away. Dordande parimatite tvamavirasihi. तन्नाशात् खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्ताघे परिमतितादतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः
तन्नाशात् खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्ताघे परिमतितादतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमथिते त्वमाविरासीः तन्नाशात् खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्ताघे परिमथितादतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमथिते त्वमाविरासीः
तन्नाशात् कलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमदिताद् अतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः तन्नाशात् खलजनभीरुकैर्मुनीन्द्रैः तन्मात्रा चिरपरिरक्षिते तदङ्गे त्यक्तागे परिमदिताद् अतोरुदण्डात् दोर्दण्डे परिमतिते त्वमाविरासीः
विरासीः
विरासीः
That's right. विख्यातः पृथुरिति तापसोपदिष्टैः सूताध्यैः परिणुतभाविभूरिवीर्यः वेनार्त्या कबलितसम्पदं धरित्रीम् आक्रान्तां निजधनुषा समामकाशीः. So the two beings who come out of that, one of them is the incarnation of Vishnu as Prithu. So Prithu Maharaja is called. So Prithu. And the other one is Mahalakshmi's incarnation as Archi. So they both end up getting married later, but they are the two bodies who are coming out of it. Now, the moment he's born, this Prithu is incarnated itself. Lord, so anytime, like we said, right, anytime an incarnation happens, and you'll see it in Vamana Avataram, Krishna Avataram, all these avatars, is Brahma, everybody first comes to do a darshan. So they all come and they notice in his hands, there is the mark in the bottom of the feet, there is a mark, all of which it indicates that this is the incarnation of the Lord. So that's how they validate and tell, yes, this person is indeed an incarnation of the Mahavishnu itself. So so Prithu is born and Archi is there. Now, because during this Vena's time, nothing was taken care of, they were not taking care of the earth, it had become really bad. So one of the things Prithu's responsibility was to establish cultivation and agriculture in the right way. So he was responsible for making sure that, because it is so, we are dating back to Swayambhuva Manu's time, right? So nothing was in an organized fashion. So this Prithu was responsible for establishing the right process of agriculture, etc., which is going to also come in the next stanza. That's why the Prithvi is coming from him, from Prithu. That is why in Sanskrit, the word Prithvi, earth, comes from Prithu, because Prithu was the ruler of the entire earth, who then got it to a more sustained way, right? I'll give you $10 to somebody who can tell me how is Prithu connected to Parthasarathi. It's a tough question. If you know Sanskrit, you'll be able to take, you have to do 3 hops to get there. Anyone wants to take a try? No? I gave you a hint, Prithu, Prithvi. No?
The Kunti name.
Parthasarathi is Krishna.
Hey,
Partha is Arjuna. Parthasarathi is Krishna.
correct.
Prithu connecting to Arjuna or Krishna?
Prithu connected to Parthasarathi. You are on the right track. You're almost 70% there. Okay.
Is related to Kunti? Kunti?
Yeah, but how?
Yeah, because her name is Prutha something, right? Yeah.
100% correct.
Prutha, yeah. So then it belongs to the her son Arjuna.
Correct. Next time,
Yeah.
Lakshmi, you meet me, you can get a $10 Starbucks card.
Prutha.
Prithu incarnation. Because of Prithu, Prithvi word comes. But Prithu is his descendants of Prithu are the Vrishni clan, which is Kunti and Vasudeva and all of them. because of which Kunti is called as Prita. Because Kunti is called Prita, her son Arjuna is called Partha. And because of Partha, because Krishna was the Sarathi for Partha, he's called Partha Sarathi. So that's how this whole thing is getting linked, right? So that's the root word. Prithu is the first root word of all of this. Anyway, good job. Harini, you as well. You took it halfway there. And Lakshmi, you completed the other puzzle. Yeah. So, Vikyataha, put a F. Prithuriti tapasopadishtaihi. Visarga, comma at the end. Sutadhyaihi, put a F to join. Sutadhyai parinuta bhavi bhuri viryah. Venarthya khabalita sampadam dharitrim, put a im at the end of that line, dharitrim, comma. Next line, that makrantam becomes akrantam. Akrantam nija dhanusha samamakarshihi. Vikyatah praturiti tapasopadishtaihi sutadhyaih parinuta bhavi bhuri viryah venartya kabalita sampadam dharitrim akrantam nija dhanusha samamakarshihi.
Vikhyatah praturiti tapasopadishtaihi sudatyaih parinuta bhavi bhuri viryaha venartya kabalita sampadam daridrim akrantam nijadhanusha samamakarshihi. Vikhyatah praturiti tapasopadishtaihi sudatyaih parinuta bhavi bhuri viryaha venatya kabalita sampadam daridrim akrantam nijadhanusha samamakarshihi.
And Lalit, in the first line, Prithuriti, I think you said pra or something, it's Prithuriti.
Prithuriti. Vikyatah praturiti tapasopadishtaihi sudatyaih parinuta bhavi bhuri viryaha venatya kabalita sambatam dharidrim akrantam nijadhanusha samamakarshihi.
Vikyatah pruturiti tapasopadishtaihi sutadhyaish parinuta bhavi bhuri viryaha venartya kabalita sampadam daritrim akrantam nijadhanusha samamakarshihi. Vikyatah pruturiti tapasopadishtaihi sutadhyaish parinuta bhavi bhuri viryaha venartya kabalita sampadam dharitrim akrantam nijadhanusha samamakarshihi.
All right, we'll switch halfway. Lakshmi Kamalaji, Yadavalaji, you can be a student, and Shailaja Naishadam, you can be a student. Stanza 6. Bhuyastam nijakula mukya vatsayuktaihi devadhyai samuchita charu bhajaneshu annadinya bhilashitani yani tani swachandam surabitanum aduduhastvam. Like we said, because there was nothing that was actually getting cultivated, the people knows enough, there's a lot of scarcity of grains, etc. So the people had become very skinny, they were dying of starvation, right? So when Prithu comes to realize that, things were not happening in the right way, then what he does is he then establishes the right way. So here it says it's more like, the earth at the end of the day, it says it's like a kamadhenu. It will give you whatever you want, anything and everything you want, the earth is capable of giving it, except that you have to take care of the earth properly. So that's what Prithu does. He establishes the right form of cultivation, all of that stuff. So people can get everything they want from earth itself, right? And so because of it, there is a lot of abundance of a lot of, food, etc. And animals also end up surviving because there's food. And so cows survive. Because cows survive, people get milk, ghee. So essentially the entire ecosystem and the cycle is being maintained properly now. Bhuyastam nija kula Mukhya Vatsa Yuktaihi. Put a visargan comma. Yuktaihi. Next line on Devadhyai, there is a ir that will go away. So Devadhyaihi is there. Put a is to join. Devadhyais Samuchita Charu Bhajaneshu Annadinya Bhilashitani. So this is a continuous word. So it's Annadini Abhilashatani, multiple words there. Annadinya bhilashitani yani tani, comma, swachandam surabhi tanum aduduhas, if you want to break it. Tanum aduduhas tvam. भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमदूदुहस्त्वम्. Yeah, Lakshmi ji, you want to go first, or Shailesh, you can go. It's okay.
Okay. भूयास्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमदूदुहस्त्वम्.
So the second line, the Devadhyehi, that Visarga will become a is. You have to put a is to join. Devadhyais samuchita.
Sure. भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमदूदुहस्त्वम्.
Lakshmi Edavaliji, okay, she's still on mute. Okay, okay, go ahead.
भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः समुचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्येऽभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमदूदुहस्त्वम्. भूयस्तां निजकुलमुख्यवत्सयुक्तैः देवाद्यैः सुमचितचारुभाजनेषु अन्नादीन्यभिलषितानि यानि तानि स्वच्छन्दं सुरभितनुमदूदुहस्त्वम्.
The second line, Lakshmi, got this samuchita. Devade samuchita.
Okay, sure.
Okay. And then the last line, last word, right? Surabhi tanum aduduhastvam. See if you can break it that way.
Okay.
Can you say the last line once?
Sure. Swachandam surabhitanu adudahastvam.
There's no ra there. Aduduhastvam.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's no ra there. You can break it that ma imana. Sentence 7. Atmanam yajati makhaistvayi tridhaman आरब्धे शततमवाजि मेधयागे स्पर्धालु शतमक एत्य नीच वेशो हृत्वाश्वं तव तनयात् पराजितो भूत. So then Prithu, he becomes a king. He is ruling over the entire earth. That's why Prithvi, the entire world, is called after him. So then it says, Prithu, you are performing sacrifices, yajna, to yourself, right? Because he is the Lord incarnation itself. But we have to remember that each of these incarnations are partial energy incarnations, right? It's not like Rama Avataram or Krishna Avataram, where it's coming with full potency. So here, Prithu, he still doesn't fully realize he is the Lord himself. He's the incarnation himself. So he's performing all these Ashwamedha Yajnas, etc. So like we said, anytime there is so Indra is worried about his positions all the time. So anytime somebody is performing this 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas, that means he becomes the next Indra. So Indra normally gets very panicky at that time. So what Indra does is, this is the first instance of a fake Samyar, right? We have a lot of fake Samyars now, right? So Indra, it says, was the first fake Samyar. So he actually dressed up as a very liberated person, who then comes to the sacrifice where Prithu is performing this. And because he wants to disrupt the sacrifice, so Indra is coming, and then he tries to, what he does is, he tries to steal the horse. So now, when Indra tries to steal the horse, which is there happening here right now, Prithu doesn't believe it. He says, why would Indra do it? But what happens is, one of the sage Atri, who is also present there, he sees Indra in space, and he sees that Indra is actually stealing the horse and going. So when he then sends, so immediately Prithu gets very angry, of course. And then what happens is, later on, Prithu's son, he then goes and defeats Indra. Because Indra refuses to give, he running away with this. So Prithu's son then goes in, and then he defeats Indra. So Atmanam yajati makhais Tvai Tridhaman. Put a in at the end of that line, comma, Tridhaman. Next line, you'll have a double na, both of it will go away, become Arabdhe. Let's start with the A. Arabdhe Shatatama Vaji Medha Yage Spardhaluhu. Put a ish to join. Spardhalush Shatamaka Etya Nicha Vesho, comma, Hritvashwam Tava Tanayat Parajito Bhut. So Indra is it talks about how he's dressed up, like he has like matted hair, and then he has ash all over his body. He's wearing very like this saffron kind, whatever clothes he was wearing. So it looked like he was a very pious sannyasi. So nobody believed. So when initially Prithu goes to battle Indra, he sees a sannyasi. He says, "I'm not going to battle a sannyasi or a saint, right?" But then he refuses to believe it's Indra who can go so low to kind of come in and take over this.
Rajeshri, question. It's second line. Arabdhe. Is it Mahaprana or is it just Arabdhe?
The Mahaprana, Arabdhe.
Arabdhe. Okay. Okay.
Atmanam hyajati makhaitvai tridhaman Arabdhe shatatama medhayage Spardhalu shatamaka etya nicha vesho Hritvashwam tavatanayat parajito bhut.
Atmanam yajati makhaitvai tridhaman Arabdhe shatatama vaji medhayage Spardhalushyatamaka etya nicha vesho Hritvashwam tava tanayat parajito bhut. Atmanam yajati makhaitvai tridhaman Arabdhe shatatama vaji medhayage Spardhalushyatamaka etya nicha vesho Hritvashwam tava tanayat parajito bhut.
Oh, my thing was frozen. Sorry. Atmanam yajati makaistavai tritaman arabdhe shatatama vajimeghayage spardhalushatamaka etyanicha vesho hritvashram tava tanayat parajito bhut.
Sorry, 1 second. Second line, it's medhayage. You said medha, dha, medhayage.
Medhayage.
Yeah.
Atmanam yajati maikasvayi tridhaman arabde shatatama vaji medhayage spardhalush shatamaka etyanicha vesho hritvashram tava tanayat parajito bhut.
First line, right? Makhais tvai. The word before tvai, makhais.
Atmanam yajati makhais tvai tridhaman.
And the second line, first word, arabde. You're saying arabde. Just arabde.
Arabde shatatama vaji medhayage.
Yeah. Okay. Stanza 8. Devendram Muhurti Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhusho Rundhane Kamala Bhave Krato Samapto Sakshatvam Maduripu Maikshata Swayam Swam. So this Indra, right? So he first is defeated by Prithusan, but this Indra doesn't give up because, like I said, Indra is a post. So you do 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas tomorrow, you will get Indra's post. You will be the ruler of the Swarga Loka. So Indra keeps coming and trying to disturb Prithu's sacrifice that is actually happening. So at one point, Prithu is just getting really frustrated. And then the sages said, don't worry. Like we saw in the beginning of the first stanza, they said, we can chant mantras and then we can bring Indra right in front of us here. We don't have to worry about him trying to steal the horse, putting sannyasi vesham and trying to do it by hiding. We can chant enough mantras that Indra will come and sit in front of us. And then Prithu, you can take care of him. So when they start doing it, then Brahma comes to the realization that actually that will happen and Indra will get killed. So Brahma himself comes and then reminds Prithu, saying, Prithu, why do you want to do 100? You are an incarnation of the Lord. So Brahma kind of brings Prithu to the remedy, saying, you are a partial incarnation of the Lord. You have all the knowledge you want, right? You don't need to be an Indra. Why do you need to be an Indra? So kind of that conversation is happening between Brahma and Prithu. So that's when Prithu himself realizes that he is actually an incarnation of the Lord, right? So that conversation happens, and then they don't do anything to Indra because of that, because Brahma and Prithu come to an agreement of what Prithu's life is supposed to be, what is the purpose of his life, and what he's supposed to do going forward. So, Devendram Muhuriti Vajinam Harantam, comma, one now referring to fire, that ha is a half ha, silent half. One now tam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave. Kamala Bhave is referring to Brahma. Kratoho, put is Kratos Samaptau, comma, Sakshatvam Madhuripum Aikshataha. So we can break that Madhuripum Aikshataha, put is Aikshatas Swayam Swam. So at the time, what happens is, Brahma is bringing Mahavishnu himself there to say, you are the incarnation of this Vishnu itself. So he's kind of giving that validation. So Prithu also comes to the realization, right? Devendram Muhurti Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Krato Samaptau Sakshatvam Madhuripumaikshatha Swayam Swam.
Devendram Muhuriti Vajinan Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Kratos Samaptau Sakshatvam Madhuripu Maikshatha Swayam Swam. Devendram Muhuriti Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Kratos Samaptau Sakshatvam Madhuripu Maikshatha Swayam Swam.
Devendram Muhurita Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Kratau Samaptau Sakshatvam Madhuripu Yekshatam Swayam Swam.
The last word, Madhuripum Aikshata Swayam Swam.
Madhuripum Aikshatam. Okay.
And then the first line, second word, Muhuriti.
Okay. Muhuriti. Devendram Muhuriti Vajinam Harantam Vannautam Munivara Mandale Juhushau Rundhane Kamala Bhave Kratos Samaptau Sakshatvam Mudhiripam
Madhuripum.
Madhuripam Aikshatam Swayam Swam.
Tadhattam varamupalabhya bhaktimekam Ganghante vihitapateh kadapi deva Satrastam muninivaham hita nishamsan Aikshishthas sanakamukan munin purastat. So at the time, Vishnu is there, Brahma is there, Indra is there, everybody is there to meet with Prithu. So, and Indra is also standing by. So he becomes very ashamed of what activities he's doing, right? And then he then surrenders to Prithu and apologizes. And Prithu Maharaj is totally fine because he's now come to the realization of what his purpose is, right? And that he himself was an incarnation to kind of get all of this thing going. And so with that, he gets blessed by that supreme Vishnu, who is the bigger power. And then with that, Prithu also abandons all his kingdom and everything. And he goes to the bank of Ganges. And there, the Sanaka Muni, the Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, Sananda, Sanatana, they're all there. Sanat Kumaras are there. And then he goes and meets with them. In the next two stanza, they'll give him some knowledge. So anyway, that's where this stanza ends. Tad Dattam. So double the coming there. Tad Dattam. Varam upalabhya bhakti mekam, comma, Gangante vihita padaha, put the ih to join, vihita padah, kadapi deva, satrastam muni nivaham, hitani shamsan, add a in at the end of that line, shamsan. Next time you will have a double na and a nai. It just becomes I. Aichishtaha. Put the is to join. Aichishtas Sanaka Mukan Munin पुरस्तात् तद्दत्तं वरमुपलभ्य भक्तिमेकां गङ्गान्ते विहितपदः कदापि देव सत्रस्तं मुनिनिवहं हितानि शंसन् ऐक्षिष्टाः सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तात्
तद्दत्तं परमुपलभ्य भक्तिमेकां गङ्गान्ते विहितपदः कदापि देव सत्रस्थं मुनिनिवहं हितानि शंसन् ऐक्षिष्टाः सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तात् तद्दत्तं परमुपलभ्य भक्तिमेकां गङ्गान्ते विहितपदः कदापि देव सत्रस्थं मुनिनिवहं हितानि शंसन् ऐक्षिष्टाः सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तात्
तद्दत्तं वरमुपलभ्य भक्तिमेकां गङ्गान्ते विहितपदः कदापि देव सत्रस्तं मुनिनिवहं हितानि शंसन् ऐक्षिष्टा सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तान्.
The last line, first word, ऐक्षिष्टास्
सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तान्.
पुरस्तात्
sorry. तद्दत्तं वरमुपलभ्य भक्तिमेकां गङ्गान्ते विहितपदः कदापि देव सत्रस्तं मुनिनिवह हितानि शंसन् ऐक्षिष्टाः सनकमुखान् मुनीन् पुरस्तात्.
विज्ञानं सनकमुखोदितं दधानः स्वात्मानं स्वयमगमो वनान्तसेवी तत्तादृक् पृथुवपुरीश सत्वरं मे रोगौगं प्रशमय वातगेहवासिन्. So having met with the Sanat Kumaras, so Prithu then gets whatever. Now see, Sanat Kumaras are like so what you call rich in knowledge, right? Spiritual knowledge and mystic knowledge, because they directly came from Brahma, and their whole life or the rest of their whatever long life they have devoted to just gaining the supreme knowledge. So they just have so much information that a lot of these people go and get information from Sanat Kumaras. So even though the Prithu Charitram is not a big avataram, not as well known as the other avatars, it is still an avataram, but it was a lower energy, lower potency avataram. So Prithu then gets all the rest of the knowledge from Sanat Kumara, and then he realized his own, anything, and he is able to attain himself, it says, right? Essentially, he goes and merges with the Supreme Lord itself. And so it says, this, O Guruvayurappa, who then incarnated as Prithu, please eradicate all of my ailments and diseases. Vijnanam Sanaka Mukhoditam Dhadhanaha, Swatmanam Swayam Agamo Vananta Sevi Tattadrik Prithu Vapurisha Satwaram Me, Rogaugham Prashamaya Vata Geha Vasin. Vijnanam Sanakamukhoditam Dadhanaha Swatmanam Swayamagamo Vananta Sevi Tattadrik Prithuvapurisha Satvaram Me Rogaugham Prashamaya Vata Geha Vasin.
Vijnanam Sanakamukhoditam dadhanaha Swatmanam Swayamagamo Vananta Sevi Tattadruk Prudhuvapurisha Satvaram Me Rogaugham Prashamaya Vata Gehi Vasin.
Vata Geha Vasin.
Vata Geha Vasin. Okay. Vijnanam Sanakamukhoditam dadhanaha Swatmanam Swayamagamo Vananta Sevi Tattadruk Prudhuvapurisha Satvaram Me Rogaugham Prashamaya Vata Geha Vasin.
Vijnanam Sanakamukhoditam dadhanaha Swatmanam Swayamagamo Vananta Sevi Tattadruk वपुरीश सत्वरमेव रोगौघं प्रशमय वातगेहवासिन्.
The third line end, last word, Satwaram me. There's no ver or anything there.
Oh, Satwaram me, yeah. Vigyanam sanakamukhoditam dadanah swatmanam swayamagamo vanastasevi tattadruk prutuva purisha satvaram me rogaugham prashamaya vatagehavasin.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. In the class here today. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone. All of you have a wonderful holiday.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Rajesh
you
ji.
to all of
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays.